Minsk is calling, and we just have to answer. Later this week, Belarus is choosing their Eurovision 2018 singer. Originally, they had 11 people, but then Sophie Lapina, she said bye. Felicia, she left the competition. We're down to 10, and we're going to listen to those 10, or rather, we have listened to those 10, and we're going to choose our top 3. Are you ready? Let's do this!
Let's do this!
Red and green and Belarus. Yes, it is time to choose our top 3. I'm going to say this was really hard for me to choose a top 3 because there's really only a top 1 in my mind. But in any case, Bernardo, why don't you kick us off with your number 3?
My number 3 is Shuna with Khmarki. I think it's a very experimental pop song. You don't hear this quite often in Eurovision, not even in selections in Eastern Europe. So it's quite nice they went experimental with the song. I think at the end of the first minute it gets a tad repetitive, but it's still very eccentric and interesting to listen to for the entire 3 minutes. I don't know if it would work at Eurovision, but at the same time, I think it would be like a nice addition in terms of diversity to the contest. But yeah, it's not a safe bet. It could go really, really well, or most probably it wouldn't go well.
Yeah, the thing about this selection is that they kind of achieved a great feat by making several songs feel like they last much, much longer than 3 minutes. And Shuma is probably the worst song at that because I felt it went on forever. So it's not in my top 3. My third song is called I Don't Care by Alen. Which kind of sums up probably a lot of people's feelings about a lot of the songs in this selection. But this song, it's kind of, I can imagine it on the radio. It's current. It sounds like a lot of other songs. It's kind of, how would I compare it to? It's one of those songs that is kind of like sounds really familiar, but it's hard to put your finger onto exactly who it is. Like it's got elements of different artists. That there's elements that are a bit Justin Bieber. There's kind of Ollie Moore elements. There's like a mixture of different styles in it, and it's fine. It's kind of mildly danceable. I won't rush to turn it off, but after I've heard it once or twice, I'm not really dying to play it again.
Well, damn. The greatest compliment you can give is that it sounds like a lot of other songs. I feel your pain. My number 3 is Anastasiya Malashkevich with World on Fire. Yes, she is a girl on fire. This is tolerable. I quite like the lyrics. You can light a flame from a little spark. Don't let it fade away. You can be a rainbow in somebody's cloud. Words to live by. She uses the phrase, stop hating. Normally we hear that, stop hating. But here it is, stop hating. It becomes musical and lyrical. She's got a good voice. Soulful, rich, full. I wouldn't download this. I wouldn't vote for this at Eurovision. But in a field, I don't know, of turds, this is a diamond. This, it stands out relative to the competition. There's something there. In any event, we move on to our number 2, Bernardo.
This was really difficult because there was nothing good enough to be in my top 3, but I went for Kirill with Deja Vu. Come back to me, baby. Because I think it's a very current pop song. It had a nice production to it. But at the same time, it's the same we've been listening over and over again for the past years at Eurovision and outside of Eurovision in radio stations or even in streaming platforms. I think he has a nice voice. The song has a nice beat. And apart from all the other songs, Kirill, I think, brings a bit of his personality to the song, which is more than any other of the pop attempts in this selection. And I think because of that is a notch higher than all the other songs.
My number 2 is actually a song I rather like, and it's by Gunesh, and it's called I Won't Cry. And it's one of those kind of typical Eurovision style female-led pop bangers, and it's done quite well. I feel that it starts off very strongly. There's kind of an atmosphere is created, and there's a sense of drama. And she's kind of saying that like she's over whatever fella did something wrong to her, and she's over him, and she won't cry. But nonetheless, she still finds time to write a song all about it. But it's a good pop song, and it's fun, and it's danceable, and you can sing along to it. And it's a song that I wouldn't mind putting on repeat. But at the same time, I think the production needs to be amped up a bit, and at times her pronunciation of words are kind of distracting. So I think arguably it could be even better if it was in Russian or Belarusian and in her native tongue, because it's a kind of song that I think nearly transcends language, because she's not really singing anything deep and meaningful, so you don't need to understand what she's saying. And the beat is there, and it's strong enough of a beat that you can just interpret the beat and let the music take you wherever your mind wants to go. But yeah, it's a good, strong song, but if it were selected, it's not the strongest of its genre that's out there, because if I was to think of other songs, Tamar, Kaprelian and Asmik in Armenia have better songs, Feli in Romania, like they're all stronger songs in a similar genre, but nonetheless, this is my second favourite and in this Belarusian selection, and I think it is quite a strong entry when you compare it to everything else.
You know, we've named 5 different songs. It's like we're just reaching into a bag and pulling what comes out. But I'm going to break the trend, because my number 2 is also Gunesh with I Won't Cry. I'm pretty sure Ireland sent this song a decade ago in 2009 with Sinead Mulvey and Black Daisy. It's got a teeny bopper pop rock sound. It's very warm, and you just want to listen to it. And it's kind of, you know, it's a I don't want to call it a bop. It's a ditty. Like, it gets in your head. It's fun. It's empowering. In the wake of, this is obviously about a relationship, but you could also apply it to, you know, life post Me Too movement, about standing up, standing strong, moving on. So it's kind of timely in that sense. A little throwback, but I'll say vintage as opposed to dated. And finally, it could be in a teen movie like Clueless, and she could slay this on the soundtrack. It sounds like something you'd hear in a teen movie. And teen movies are mass. They've got mass appeal. You know, I think in any other year, she actually could have won in Belarus. I think there's one song that's significantly better. This is a strong entry for Belarus in particular. And she doesn't need to cry, because she's onto something good. And she's tried many times before. And Gunesh, girl, you're going to get to Eurovision. Keep going. Don't cry. Keep moving forward. All right. That's my advice to you. We move on to our number 1 in Belarus, the song we most want to see at Eurovision 2018, Bernardo.
Surprise, surprise, it's Alekseev with Forever.
No need to worry, rain falling down, it's a happy story, and there's no one around. We will go for it, and I know you'll be mine forever.
While I prefer the version in Russian or Belarusian, I can't remember which language it is, I think it's still the best produced song in the pack for its genre. I think he has a really, really nice voice. You can identify the sound of Eastern Europe within the pop song. So it's kind of different from Scandinavian pop and Western pop. So you kind of identify that it's clearly from the Russian area. It clearly has Russian influences, and it will appeal to those countries. of the ex-Soviet Union, and it might do really, really well because he's already a huge star in the country. Again, I would keep it in Russian or Belarusian, but I see what they're trying to do in translating it to English. I don't know if it's going to work, but yeah, this is my favorite by far, by far.
Is this a question that we even need to ask? Like,
Jesus.
obviously, Alexeev Forever is my number one as well.
Windows wide open, flying so high, both of us roaming through magnificent sky.
It's one of those songs that you really don't expect to come out of Belarus because, well, prior to last year, Belarus kind of had a reputation for sending songs that were kind of cheap and tacky and soulless, whereas this is well produced, it's well thought out. He's a credible singer with a big following, like he's a big pop star, and then the song itself is quite strong. I think people are being overly critical of it. Maybe they're comparing it unfavorably to some of his other work. I'm not particularly familiar with his other work, so I can't judge on that basis. But I think it's a really strong song, and it builds and builds, and it creates, like Gunesh, it creates kind of an atmosphere, and it creates a sense of place. And it has a big moment because when he goes, "No need to worry," I feel like putting my hands out in the air and saying, "Yes, there's no need to worry," and like singing onto it. And I think it's unfortunate in a way that there's so much controversy around it, because I know whether he wins or not, there is going to be controversy that he only won because he was Alekseev, he only lost because he was Alekseev. And then this whole thing about when it was performed, and it was performed like in front of, maybe was it one concert, and then the video only appeared after he'd entered, and then there's the quitting the contest over it, and then there's the whole version that they've revamped it to make it into a Eurovision friendly song, and then whether that fits the mood of it or whatever, and then why did he quit Ukraine to come to Belarus, and there's so much drama. But I still think it's a deserving winner, and I hope that it doesn't get lost in the mess.
But you know what? I'm gonna keep the trend going. Alekseev is my number one.
You always seem something new. I will always follow. When I first saw you here, I knew that I was blind before you.
And to your point, Porig, let's just think about the lotus flower. It's covered in mud, but then it blossoms, it blooms, and it slays, and you want to take a picture with it. That is Alekseev. Going through all this drama is only going to help him. He, in our interview, was such a gentleman. He handled the controversy and questions about the controversy very articulately. You know, what do you have to say to the people who quit the contest or threatened to quit? Always pursue your dreams. What do you have to say to Sophie who left? It's really sad. You gotta pursue your dreams. That is how you answer. Mr. Belarus, Mr. United Nations. The song itself, Bernardo, I love what you said about, you know, the Russian sphere of influence. Because this is dripping with Eastern nostalgia. There is a very, and I mean this is a compliment, a saccharine quality, a longing, a sweetness that I would associate to some extent with like a Philip Kirkorov song or like Sergei Lazarev music. It's just very regionally identifiable and yet global. So it has the kiss of the region, and yet you could hear it on the radio elsewhere. That is how you do well at Eurovision, by appealing to the masses. Because don't get me wrong, this is not just an Eastern song. People in the West are going to love this too. When the chorus hits, when it starts, there's mystery. You're like, ooh, I want some more. 30 seconds in, he enters the chorus. Bam! Let's get on with it. But I don't get bored. 2 minutes in with that bridge, he mixes it up again. It builds really well. That's a sign of good production. Do I have anything else written in my notes? No, I do not. Except that there are pauses in the music. And I think knowing his kind of backstory where he performed at the Russian Music Awards and had elaborate staging, the pauses or like the slow parts of the music are meant to give a showcase for staging. I just feel like it's symbiotic. They're working together, staging and music. They're not going to have to shoehorn anything in. This is head and above better than anything else. They're all Hershey's and Cadbury. This is some Godiva. They're all Fords and Skodas. This is some Mercedes-Benz. It's no contest. Belarus was right to bring him in. And maybe he left Ukraine because of personal drama. Maybe he left Ukraine because he thought it was too difficult there. And, you know, it is a difficult country to represent because they have an intense contest. I would go to Belarus, too. Heck, sign me up. Maybe I'll go next year. You got to go where you have the best chance to slay.
Yeah.
Because this could do well at Eurovision. And he's just creating an opportunity. You know what? People love drama. Let's be real. People love to make a mountain out of a molehill. People love, ooh, he did wrong. You know what? He's going to Eurovision probably, so eat it. I'm really pleased for him, and I wish him the best. And in fact, I wish Belarus the best, because if they send this, they have a shot of making an impact at Eurovision. Last year, they had one of the happiest songs. This year, they could have, you know, a left-hand side kind of, yeah, who knows? And with amazing staging, they could go even higher. Well, we have downloaded everything from our tiny little heads into this video. Let us know what you think. Who are your top 3? Who is your favorite to win? Are you happy that Alekseev is here in Belarus? And how do you think he or your number 1 would do at Eurovision? Let us know here on wiwibloggs.
Don't forget to subscribe our channel.
And join the notification squad by hitting the bell and give us a big thumbs up.
We'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.